You're plugged into Schaumburg Speaks, a podcast highlighting and celebrating local businesses and community in the Schaumburg area. Welcome back to Schaumburg Speaks. On this second part of our conversation featuring Joie Chitwood, we discuss the upcoming President's Cup, hosted at Medinah Country Club.
So for those that might not be familiar with the President's Cup, could you explain the tournament, what it's about, all that good stuff?
You know, for us, it's really a different concept than what the PGA Tour does, right? Which is individual stroke play, tournaments, 4 rounds. You know, this is the PGA Tour's ultimate team competition in which we pit 12 of the best USA players against 12 of the best international players. We define international, the easiest way is non-Europe, right? And we hit a great contingent of golfers from, you know, Canada, Mexico, South America, Australia, Asia, and it creates a great competition. And we've had some phenomenal events. Charlotte 4 years ago, Montreal last year, and then obviously this here at Medinah. So for us, it's the opportunity for players to put on their colors that they likely have never done before. And so when Tony Finau gets to put on that USA hat for the first time, he's now part of a team. When 50 other weeks of the year, it's about Tony Finau and his ability to beat the golf course, not beat the gentleman he's playing with that day. And so there's a lot more emotion and energy around it. And for those that have been to team competitions, the first tee shot is as energetic and laser focused as the shot on the 5th hole or the 7th hole. And for those that have been to a 4-day golf tournament, the Thursday round might not have the same energy as the Sunday round, right, in terms of crowning the winner. But I can tell you from day one, the first tee shot, there's an energy and there's that pride of playing for your country. And when I think about how boisterous the Chicago fans can be, I can't even imagine the reception.
Crazy.
It will be over the top. And I've had a chance to come to the Ryder Cup in 2012 at Medinah. And again, USA versus the world. I mean, if that doesn't play to our country's ego, there's nothing that can. And I expect there'll be a very warm reception for the USA team. And I think the international team better be ready for that Chicago thing because it'll be here in full force. But it's been around for 30 years.
Okay.
And probably one of the coolest things about it is when we go across the pond or other places, we typically have heads of state as honorary chairman of the event. Here in the U.S., we've had multiple presidents visit and attend. President Clinton, President Bush, and absolutely President Obama. So it's a big deal because that's why it's called the President's Cup. But Tiger Woods was asked one time, who's the person that you always wanted to meet? Who's there someone you look up to, someone that you'd like to meet? And he said Nelson Mandela. And I have a great image when he met Nelson Mandela at the President's Cup in South Africa. And so the fact that Tiger Woods said it, and you get to see this image of he and Ernie Els, who were leading their teams, getting to meet Nelson, that just the impact of a global sporting event and having heads of state participate in honorary roles. So that's what we bring to the table. That's what the President's Cup is. If you can't get excited about that, I'm not sure we can get you excited about anything.
We're excited for sure. Okay, I have one last question before I turn it over to the mayor and Tony to talk all the golf stuff. How does it compare to the Ryder Cup?
Sure. It's the same
because we had that here a few years ago.
It's interesting that the Ryder Cup is definitely, there's a little bit, it's getting a bit chippy. There's been a couple that maybe have gotten a little bit interesting in terms of emotions that flare outside of the ropes. But having said that, you know, the President's Cup of Montreal, there were some of our players from Asia that were very demonstrative, really out of character in terms of, I think, was it Siwoo Kim who did the Steph Curry, go to sleep? So there is an emotion. So I think both when you play for more than yourself, you play for your teammate, you play for your country, it creates a different stress level. You see more emotion. Every shot means something. So I think they're quite similar. It's just really the European team versus really the international team in terms of the location. But you've got these great professionals who, when you put them on the biggest stage, perform at a level that we all wish we could perform at. That's the beauty of sport, right? You set the stage and you want to see these athletes do things that we dream about doing. And they tend to do it in the most significant moment when it's needed the most, and the crowd goes crazy. And that's the memories we create that we take with us forever. And for everyone that's attended cool special events, I'm sure we all have those stories we can tell about, I was there when, and you get to tell that story of witnessing something that probably is something you'll never forget, and continue to tell those around you all the time.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Mayor?
Sure. So as I mentioned, I just took up golf 3 years ago, but I am that person that became very enthused with this. Initially, I started out like, why do I want to hit this little ball around the grass out there? But I took 2 months of learning of lessons from a guy by the name of Jonathan Parsons, who is the pro over at Schaumburg Golf Course, and great guy, and he taught me. And it was going along great. Then I get out on the course, and it was like, I just sucked it all in. I was like, wow, now I know why people are here. You don't really get that until you get out there. So I am now that, enthusiast that's out there. So wish my game was better.
Welcome to the team. Welcome to the team.
I was about to say, so
my game's not so well.
Luckily
but,
for you,
yeah.
For me, I've been playing golf for a good 40 years, and so it's 40 years of frustration. So hopefully, depending on how many years you want to put it, but there is something about golf that I enjoy, having been in racing. It's peaceful. It's green. Yes. The term "it's a good walk spoiled" is probably a great term for it, but it is so true. You hit that 1 or 2 shots in that round, and that gets you back.
Oh, yeah.
Now, but how do we repeat them? But I talk to so many folks who really enjoy golf, and I'm blown away at how good the professionals really are, and look at the struggles that we have as amateurs trying to figure it out. And when you walk the range and you hear the sound of when their iron hits the ball, it sounds different. It looks so smooth and simple and comfortable. And, we're strangling the golf club, trying to hit an extra 5 yards. But I will say that nothing makes me feel better than arriving at a golf course and kind of that.
Yes. Yeah, and it's a beautiful day out, and you just get an opportunity to be out there with friends. And that's part of it that you don't really get is, the fact that you're there with 3 or 4 other people there, and you're just enjoying the day. So I have to tell you, about my first set of clubs the year after I took the practice. So I get my practice in, and I did some rounds. And then the next year, I'm like, I'm buying a set of clubs. So here I'm hooked, right? I get my clubs. I've already started replacing them.
So, welcome again to the team.
Here I am.
So now the question is, are you a typical golfer, and would you keep all of your old clubs and kind of put them in the garage?
Yeah, well, no, they're still in the bag.
So my wife finally said, hey, you have a problem? You need to clean this up?
Yeah.
I had a set of Spalding Tour editions.
Oh, boy.
Back from when I was a teenager that
I
I
have
finally had to get
Knights
rid of.
from Sport Mart.
Yeah, so
First set.
I finally had to start purging because I just kind of kept them, thinking at some point maybe I'll want to hit them again, which never happens. I'm looking for the new stuff, but I commiserate with you as it relates to the passion.
It's great, though. I just absolutely love it. So I want to ask you about, can you walk us through the format of the competition, how it differs, from other tournaments that are going on, and then maybe touch a little bit on the player lineup, and what makes this President's Cup roster kind of unique compared to some of the other ones.
Absolutely. So it's 4 days of competition, and so what you have is really a mixed bag of how they compete. There are moments when it's best ball or better ball, and so you've got alternate shot, where you might tee off, and then I hit the second shot for our team, and then hopefully you're putting, so we're alternating shot against the other team. But then there's another opportunity where you'll play your own ball, and it's our best score against the other team's best score. And then really the heart of it is the singles matches on Sunday. That's one-on-one, and that's when you see the lineups that are pretty phenomenal. What's interesting about the President's Cup that's different than the Ryder Cup, the Ryder Cup in essence does what we call a blind draw. The European team sets their lineup, and the Americans set their lineup, but they don't know who's going to play who, and they unveil. Here, for the President's Cup, it might be the international team saying that Jason Day and Adam Scott are going to go out first. Now, the U.S. can respond to that, and they choose who is going to play them. So they might pick Scotty Scheffler and Tony Finau. And then the USA team says, we're going to go with Justin Spieth and Jordan Thomas. And the international team says, we're going to go with Hideki Matsuyama and Tom Kim. So you have a little bit of that gamesmanship, which is actually a little bit of theater. when they're going back and forth and trying to figure out how they want their lineups to match. So from that perspective, it's a little bit different than the Ryder Cup versus just the blind draw. But again, this 4 days of competition, again, you just see, for me, being in Montreal and reliving it again, that first tee shot on Thursday is as important as the last shot someone hits on Sunday. Every shot matters. And the analytics that go into it, the way the course is set up, how they pair the players. Both teams tend to have some data analytics people. I don't know what they analyze, but they go through everything as it relates to the best pairings, the percentage of how they hit their shots, driving accuracy, all
Whether
those
they're going
elements.
left or right.
Oh, my
I'm
goodness,
sure it's all
great.
in there.
Who
yeah.
tees off on which
Yep.
tee box,
Yeah.
if it's an alternate shot. And so it's pretty impressive. There was a match on on Friday of Montreal President's Cup in which Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schauffele got closed out like 8 and 7. And it was alternate shot, which is really intriguing. Again, you just see things you normally wouldn't see in a regular golf tournament where you're following around. Maybe I'm a fan of, pick Billy Horschel, and I just want to follow Billy around and follow him for his whole round versus these 5 matches a day or 4 matches in the first morning and 4 matches in the afternoon. It definitely just creates a intensity that you don't see in a regular PGA Tour event. And even at a Masters, having been to a major or PGA Championship or US Open, yes, it's intense, but I still don't think it compares to team play when you're repping your country. And then when you get those crazy fans who are supporting
Which
you.
we'll have.
We on Friday morning, I have to give the Canadians a lot of credit. I think that by 9 a.m. we had to escort some over-beveraged guests on property.
Okay.
So they started early and they came
Sure.
raring to go.
Okay.
And give it to those Canadians. They were dressed in their hockey gear, and let's just say maybe
okay.
they stayed up all night. I'm not even sure, but let's just say at 9 a.m. it was time to take a break. But again, you just see a different energy from the crowd as well. That raucous atmosphere in the first tee box, and every player will tell you their knees are shaking for that first tee shot because everybody's yelling and screaming, and sometimes the players are amping it up as well. So I think that's really the biggest thing. And from a player standpoint, it's a big deal to make the team. And you're going to see some of the best PGA Tour players that we have. We'll have the rankings in effect. The captains get to pick their captain's picks. And so we typically have the best of the best. And the golf shows. They put on a show that you can't even imagine with the pressure on to play as well. So for us, that's really what it embodies, this team competition, the best talent in the world, and candidly, I think we have one of the best stages in Medinah to put on this, especially after their $25 million renovation. I think it will provide match play and opportunities that we haven't seen before. And kudos to Medinah for blowing up some of their older holes and creating new holes. I think there are 6 new holes as part of the renovation, and there's a couple that will factor significantly into match play. Just so you guys know, a typical golf course is set up in which your finishing holes provide your best challenge from a stroke play perspective. Well, we're going to reroute the course, and we will take some of Medinah's finishing holes and move them earlier in the competition. The last thing you'd want is their signature 18th hole, that great hole aimed over the lake towards the flagpole, and have no matches make it there because they're all closed out at 16 or 17. So that will actually play as 14 for us. The new Cape hole, which is over the lake, a par 4, that'll play as 12 for us. We want their best holes to factor into who wins or loses the match. And so I think less than 40% of the matches make it to 17. So let's make sure the best holes are part of the theater that we want to see as they determine who wins the matches.
Great idea. Hey, Joey, this event is being called one of the biggest in PGA Tour history. In your opinion, what sets it apart, or what makes the PGA Tour be able to say that statement?
So it's a great conversation about what makes a great tournament, and from the standpoint of saying the biggest or the best. And so there's a little bit of a recipe, right? You need to have the event. And so President's Cup, 30 years of history, match play, USA versus international, the best of the best. So you've got that element. I think for us, then you've got to have the stage. And we talked about Medinah, been around 100 years, phenomenal footprint, 3 18s. You've got the practice area, you've got the gun club, you've got Lake Khadijah. It's going to provide a phenomenal atmosphere for this event, but then you need the market. And you think about this Chicago market, and number 3 market. But for me, what's really intriguing is, and not to discount other U.S. venues, but I think Chicago offers the most international flair than a Charlotte or other courses that have hosted. And I think there's a chance for the international team to have better support versus it being a truly hometown game for the U.S. team. And I think from an international destination, Chicago checks all the boxes when you're coming from the Far East or other locations where you can entertain here, even find maybe kind of that local vibe from the country you come from. And so for us, we think the market, the course, and the event, those 3 together, it's the formula for us to make this the biggest ever. And when I say biggest, I mean we will have the most hospitality built. I expect our TV will be off the charts because it is that Chicago thing. And I think from an attendance perspective, there will be, I would just say this, when we do release the tickets, no one should sit on their hands and wait around because there will be a limited number because the course, you can only fit so many folks. And this type of event, 30 years of history, it's going to be a can't miss event. But those are the 3 things that we factor together to say this is trending well. And I will say from my early experiences dealing with the members now and hospitality companies, I think we've sold over 60 suites already, and we're 20 months away. The corporate support is phenomenal, and golf is a great place to entertain business clients, the experience, an all-day event. So we've seen it already in market, but we could go on and on. But again, there's very rare times when you get these 3 things to truly line up. And I think they are locked and loaded for a phenomenal September of 2026.
Yeah, very exciting. Joe, you touched on this one a little bit, but a little tangent. So the President's Cup is being held at historic Medinah Country Club, which has literally hosted all of golf majors. Can you tell us about the recent changes of Course 3 at Medinah, which you mentioned? Some listeners might not have heard about it, but I guess you have touched on some of those. There is a little bit of a next layer to the changes and potential influence on who's on the international team or who's captaining with Jeff Ogilvy, and some of the listeners might not be aware of some of that. But take us down that road a little bit.
I'm not aware of any captains having been named, so I'm not aware of any captains being named. No one has signed a captain's agreement, so there's a lot of conjecture, which I appreciate. But Medinah, I think from the perspective of what a mature course, right? Tight trees, but as we've seen across the tour, older venues and a lot of trees, the maintenance and the upkeep can be quite challenging. Drainage is always an issue. I know that the Medinah folks say if they had a good rain, you probably weren't playing the course for a day or two. And so you've got that element to it in terms of just general maintenance. But as you look to host big events, and Medinah, when all said and done with our event, will be the only course on the planet to host a U.S. Open, PGA Championship, Ryder Cup, and President's Cup. Talk about a claim to fame. It's pretty impressive. But you want to host big events, we have to have places we can build venues, and you have to support them. And it's very difficult to get equipment across a golf course, especially maybe the south side of a course like Medinah, and service it. So there were elements to their rebuild that made a lot of sense. We were able to pull in competition, business, and the Medinah crew and talk through opportunities, i.e., could we put a service road around the edges of the course? And we did. That will make the hugest of difference for us to keep back of house, and not running things across golf cart paths in front of the crowd or tee boxes. But then also with the redo of the holes, the opportunity to look at where hospitality can fit and go a little bit different. So it's a great chance to collaborate on Medinah having a phenomenal facility, a great showcase of golf, and now making a couple tweaks to allow us to build venues that make sense. So when they do host other events, they can continue to have big events. And that's the goal. If you're going to come to Medinah, it needs to be a big event. And you have to have the footprint to build it. Now, it was a little bit of a challenge. Medinah chose to do the renovation after we had signed the contract. So our team had to get with their team and really remap out where things go and how we operate the venue. And so it all worked out great. It's phenomenal. But we had to go back to the drawing board a little bit and go, this location works for this, we'll fit in this suite box here, and how do we do this? So, but all in all, the plan is really looking good for the event. And the structures and how we build, we definitely have a clean look to it. It's a little bit different than maybe some other tournaments, but it's going to just showcase the property in a way that's pretty special. But again, I give the Medinah crew a lot of credit for choosing and that membership to choose to do that renovation when they didn't need to. I know they removed a lot of trees. What's interesting from my perspective, having played the old Medinah and the new Medinah, it feels like you can hit every club in your bag. And definitely they were known for a lot of long par fours, but now there's some variability, which I think is great, especially from a member play perspective. It's always challenging if you feel like you're hitting your, at least for me, my driver 5 wood on every long par 4. You'd like to, driver 7 iron, driver, 8 maybe if you're lucky, but, just not that long repetitive thing. And I think having this renovation will give everybody, it'll make it a little more challenging because they don't have the old statistics on how the greens ran, how it played. And when I got here, a year and a half ago, it was all dirt. Like I couldn't even envision where things were. I was like, hey, what hole? Where is that hole over there? I don't understand what this is layout. So it's nice to see it now, and it opened in July of last year. And it rave reviews, back in the top 100. I think it's number 73 or 74, renovation of the year. I mean, really, and I think that's what impresses me about Medinah is that membership understands their brand and how to support it and to take on that renovation because they think it's the right thing to do for golf here in Chicago, and they want to be that course that has the big events. That's a big deal, and I give a lot of credit to that membership.
Yeah, it goes to your comment before about perpetuating a known brand forward. You can't rest on your past laurels of other major championships or other tournaments, but to perpetuate forward exactly what the membership of Medinah did.
We see that a lot of places now, that we just saw a nice little renovation at the Tour Championship in Atlanta. Same thing, the chance to now understand, okay, if we make these changes, we can accommodate even more fun member play, a better tournament, and actually fit the business side into it as the Tour Championship. So a lot of courses, I think there's a lot of work for a lot of architects out there in the golf world. Like it has not slowed down from the pandemic, and it's exciting. There's some statistics out there that show that for young people, high school or below, you're seeing a decline in team sports, and you're seeing an increase in individual sports, golf being one of them. And so from our perspective, we feel like the pipeline is full of the fan, the golfer, the interest, because you're seeing it at a much earlier age with that individual focus on sport. And golf can be played at whatever stage in life you want to play it, right?
Welcome all.
We can play as long as we can, and to be honest, the social side of golf is fantastic, right? We all want those things, the ability for camaraderie and enjoyment and needling and having fun, and golf gives you all that. It's a great chance to, and whether you play with family members or friends or coworkers, it's just a chance to enjoy that experience and have some fun playing a sport and being with friends and everything else.
So to that point, after I started playing, they teamed me up with a guy by the name of Kenny Kerr. Fortunately, he's passed away, 88 years old, and said, this is the guy you want to play with. He knows the course. He's been here and all that. And so him and I would get in a cart, and we'd go around, and he'd tell me almost every shot, you lifted your head up, So I try not to do that. I am very conscious of that now, but I always think of Kenny.
And Kenny, it would be a gentleman, a former employee of the Schaumburg Golf Club as well, who literally shot under his age. So he was 88, shooting 85, 82, 80. He hit the ball, a great role model for Mayor Daley to have in his early stage.
Yeah, very, very good. It was always interesting to watch him. He would hit, he'd hit right between two sand traps. I'm like, how did you get there?
I always laugh. I would make a joke. So in my travels, I would always try and find a way to play some great golf courses. And what I found back in the day is a lot of folks wanted to go to NASCAR races and they wanted garage passes. Well, I wanted to play on golf courses. So I kind of made a joke. I always like to play bad golf on really good golf courses and find ways to play some of those signature courses. And again, it's just such a great experience to go see the architecture of the course, the locale, the setup. Usually the weather's great. And to me, I hope I get to play when I'm 88 And not that I'll break my age at that point, but if I'm on a golf court or I'm walking a course at 88, then life has been pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it was very inspirational from him. So, of course, as mayor, I want to talk to you a little bit about the local community and the impact on us. And because it's not just about golf, of course, there is, you mentioned a major economic driver for the area. So maybe you can talk about that and what you anticipate for Chicago and in the Schaumburg area.
For sure. I think it's, when you have these global sporting events, there's so much that comes with it. We can talk about the attention, and we'll talk about the TV and some of the other things a little bit later, I know, in our broadcast. But from a fan perspective, and I would actually count myself as a fan and the person that comes into market and has an effect on our economic impact, because that's what I did in 2012. I grabbed some buddies. We booked our hotel rooms. I might have hit in a steak restaurant or two or three and might have indulged, found some cool golf courses to play, and went to the event. And so we all know economic impact is about heads and beds. We need people to visit our communities and spend those dollars, of which there's a nice tax pop that we all get to enjoy. And this is the type of event that does that. Not only do you have 4 days of competition, you've got a couple days of practice. And the customer or the person that attends golf or attends golf events, they want to come in market and they want to experience it all. So I think we're the perfect opportunity to bring people in, and with the international side, with this event having an international team, I think we can pull folks from the Far East that we normally wouldn't see. And credit to Quail Hollow in Charlotte, phenomenal event. Was our high water mark of events so far, but I would not consider Charlotte as international destination as Chicago. And candidly, the golf market in Chicago, I don't think gets enough credit. The top 100 courses, the volume of golf, the energy around golf, really from April to October, is pretty significant. So I think that plays into it. So Charlotte did about $135 million in economic impact. If we're not north of 175, I'd be surprised, and I would bet we would break $200 million. It's just, again, that recipe of the course, the event, and the market. And this market in communities like Schaumburg or places closer to Medinah or in downtown, there's so many different options for how you want to entertain, enjoy, celebrate, where you can do a little bit of everything. And again, this is that event that makes the most sense for that kind of economic impact. I think we're going to fill up a lot of hotels. I think everybody's going to enjoy it. And I would expect that, a golfer or two, when they go enjoy themselves, they like to find those nice higher-end restaurants and celebrate whatever. Yeah, I think we do. So again, I really feel good. And having done this in a long time in racing and run Daytona 500 or Indy 500, you start to understand what really makes the difference to the customer and the crowd. It's the signature event. It's the event that you have to have the merchandise so that you're wearing that logo to tell everybody after the fact, I attended. But most fans want to experience it all. And they're going to come in and figure out what their days are. Here's when I want to go to the course, but I want to go find a new golf course to play here. I want to go check this out. I want to do some sightseeing. I think that's what we bring and offer. And I think September in Chicago, pretty nice time of year. And I think we're lined up. Again, I think the promotion, the energy around it, I think we're lined up for a really good experience. And I would expect all the communities around the golf course to really enjoy and celebrate it. And I can't wait. I really can't. If you can't tell I'm excited, I'm excited, even though we've got 20 months away. So
to that point, I played in September and October here in Chicago last year, and I was commenting on how beautiful the courses were at that time of year. And I'm thinking, wow, this is amazing. The Schaumburg course, it's a 27-hole course, just beautiful. I played some of the other ones in the area, and I was just really impressed on how well the groundskeepers take care of these courses and maintain that how well they are. So this is really a great opportunity.
It really is. And imagine, so if we take this economic engine that we're bringing in, everybody gets to benefit. Now let's actually pivot to the publicity side and understand the spotlight that's going to be on us. So yes, we're going to have visitors show up. They're going to check in. They're going to stay. They're going to spend their discretionary dollars. They're going to buy things. They're going to make an impact. But when you think about this event will be broadcast to over 200 countries in over 20 different languages. So we'll have, yes, an impact at home, but the world is going to see the venue, and can you imagine the skyline shots and all those beauty shots, and we're going to put everybody in this community on display as to continue the world-class sports that are here in this market. And this is another feather in the cap. And that, to me, is what I think is really impressive when you think about that international spotlight shining on this market. And you know, our broadcast partners are fantastic. The social digital numbers continue to go through the roof in terms of the engagement that we see. So from a linear TV component to all those countries, the social digital, every player has their following like you can't believe. So you've got that element that takes the economic impact up another notch, which is just the profile of this community. And it's known for hosting big events. And look how beautiful it is, whether it's the course, the skyline, the community. I'm really fired up about that, because that's when we put our best foot forward. And when that spotlight shines on us, we can tell a great story about golf in this market, the ability to host a big sporting event, and say it's the biggest we've ever hosted in 30 years. And it's at Chicago, it's at Medinah, it's here in this community. That, to me, is what's the most impressive thing about what we're going to bring to the table.
So as a mayor, let me just chime in and say that we have the hotels for that and the restaurants. So we have, yeah, I was going to say, we've got from the low-end hotels all the way up to the 5-star Renaissance Hotel here in Schaumburg, and almost 300 restaurants. They say if you can't find it in Schaumburg to eat, and I'm not just talking the food, I mean, it's just the culture, the variety of food that we have here, Indian food, Mexican food, you name it, we have it here in Schaumburg. Some of the finest steakhouses, Perry's Restaurant, Chicago Prime Steakhouse. I mean, these are all fine, top, notch places to be. And
it's the perfect destination for an international golf event. There's so many amenities that make so much sense for how our fans experience this. And the fact that it's a 4-day-long competition, but it's really 6 days because of the 2 days of practice. Again, a week long of activity for people to come in and spend as much time as you want, versus sometimes just a singular game.
So I'm going to go back to another point you said. So at the end of the month, I'm going down to Tampa. I'm going to see the first IndyCar race of the season.
Oh, in St. Pete.
Yeah, in St. Pete. That's right, on March 3rd. So, but I planned it for 3 days. And I did exactly what you were talking about earlier. I'm looking at where can I go for restaurants, what else can I do while I'm there, because it's not the race the whole time. So I'm spending that time looking around at all the other things going on. And I think that's.
So I've got to give a shout out. I was born and raised in Tampa. Okay, grew up there, went to high school, so I've got a couple good restaurants. I'll have to make sure I got to give you Burns Steakhouse and the Columbia as the two kind of Tampa staples.
I've heard the Columbia. Somebody's mentioned that one already.
Those two, okay. I've been going there since I was little, but I'm a big fan. My son works in Tampa, so and sneak back when I can to see relatives. But Tampa, St. Pete, and of course the IndyCar guys, being part of the first year of the IndyCar or Indy Racing League in 1996, and the St. Pete event is a great event. You'll enjoy it, but again, you're going to enjoy the entire experience, not just the event. The weather, the water, great food, great drink. Can I go with you? I might.
Yeah.
No. But,
Could we all go?
Yeah, a lot of fun. So, what other type of special events, community programs, et cetera, might be planned there? Maybe some traditional things that you do, and fan experiences and that.
So, a couple of things that are interesting. We will actually host a Junior President's Cup, and that'll be the weekend before. And so that'll be, again, the USA versus international, and it'll be folks usually in high school. Could be even younger golfers now. They're getting so good so early. But we'll actually host that at Medinah Country Club. So you've got that great engagement with hopefully what could be the next generation of stars that you might see at the future events. So you've got that element to it. We'll create some other fan experiences. We've got a little bit of time on our hands, but we will bring the captains in for 4 days of activity sometime in the fall of this year. and we will run them around, and we will do some promotions, whether it's here in Schaumburg, down by the golf club, downtown, but make sure that everybody knows about it. And then we'll look at some engagements during tournament week, so those that aren't going to come to the golf course still can experience what the President's Cup may be like, and we'll figure out the right locations. And I've got some good connections at some of the other professional sports teams. A couple of my former NASCAR compadres are some executives at some sports teams, so we'll figure out some collabs with some other sports teams to really get kind of embraced by that Chicago sports market and the energy that we see around it. But it's interesting. We definitely have had some outreach from some Chicago athletes that want to figure out how they can support and be part of it, and they love to golf when they're not competing in their natural sport. So I think for us, it's taking the market by storm. We have this short window. And so for us, we want to make sure we engage with that. One of the things that we do as a PGA Tour is we like to make lives in the community in which we host events a little bit better than when we found them. And so there's an element to what we do, which is the charity side. And so every PGA Tour event in whatever market they're at makes a significant financial contribution to charities in and around the venues. And so for us, we have the same concept planned for our event here at Medinah, and that is identifying the right partners in the community and how can we help them help make people's lives a little bit better. Had some great meetings so far with the First Tee of Chicago. That's an organization that was actually founded by the PGA Tour a number of years ago under Commissioner Tim Fincham, and so we appreciate and like what they do of how they introduce the game of golf to young people and what they do to kind of make sure that golf's in a good place moving forward. And there's so many other charities and organizations here in Market. It'll be challenging to talk to all of them, but we've already had some really good conversation. I know Medinah obviously has a significant relationship in their 100 years with Shriners, and you look at what Shriners do from a medical perspective. I mean, again, there's so many great stories in this market, so there's a chance to try and support as many as we can and make a difference. So economic impact, international global spotlight, charitable side, we think we hit all the great elements that you want to see in an event, and put on a heck of a show to boot, right? I mean, really do something that is pretty special for everyone involved. And for me, I think about waking up and showing up to work. Man, this is the thing you want to do. You're involved in an organization that gives back to its community. You host a sporting event that people just will go crazy for, and you're going to make a difference. And I think if you can't be excited about getting to be part of what I'll call the team that puts on the show, then I'm not sure what would excite you. And I think when we're all young, we either want to be rock stars or professional athletes. Well, only a small few get that. But to be involved in sports, to put on the venues and the events, to me, that's pretty darn close to getting to be the athlete themselves. Now, that does not mean I get to go walk around and get autographs or, walk inside the ropes. I'm usually making sure customers are happy and all those things. But the finality to the event. So I loved it in racing, the waving of the checkered flag, the significance of you're the winner. Close the book on that event. Now let's think about the next event. The USA or the international team's going to win. We close the book and we focus on the next. I love that finality to it. It makes all your efforts, everything you did, appreciated, and it goes in the history book. There's something about that for me, whatever the OCD I have, it really checks the box of, and that's the energy that you need to take to get to that event. You've got that, let's put it in the books. Let's make sure we crown a winner, and then we can close that chapter and move on to the next one.
Very well said. Joie is a PGA member who loves catching golf coverage and highlights pretty much 24/7. If you don't trust me, ask my wife. I know a lot of fans are wondering about innovative coverage and broadcast features. I mean, we're seeing drone shots, we're seeing all kinds of cool stuff, and now we have the access service road around Medinah for more camera equipment and all kinds of cool stuff. Let us know what you might know about future improvements or what's coming.
It's interesting. I mean, every couple months you see some other innovation that ShotLink, in terms of the technology we use so you can follow the shots or other elements, bring to the table. It's almost like we can't keep up with them in terms of all the things that are occurring. But I think for me, it's really just the ability for the technology to enhance the coverage. So you want to tune in and watch every shot because you see things you normally wouldn't see when, might not be able to see that tee shot, as it leaves the, into the distance. And so I think we've got some cutting edge technology. The PGA Tour just opened up its own studio right next to our headquarters. And so they produce all the production is now done in-house, which means we've got some consistency. We invest in technology to make it better. We can now do some studio shows and other elements at the global home. But what's interesting now is the ability to capture every shot by every golfer on every round in a PGA Tour event. And we have that, and we have it all. And so the ability to then use that to tell a story, to use it creatively. And I laugh when I see our own social media feed and how quickly we put snippets together to highlight Rory's win at AT&T Pebble Beach, and how you're popping those little snippets out there so quickly. I'm just impressed. We definitely do a great job of communicating to our fan base in whatever medium that you choose to follow us, whether it's your phone, whether it's your iPad, whether it's TV, who knows, but we've got a consistent voice with usually good imagery that helps tell the story. And I think that's all it is. It's about telling the story, translating what they do on the course to the story behind it. And I think this was Rory's 27th win. Exactly. And what a great place to win your 27th event at Pebble Beach. So
Almost as iconic as Medinah.
well, look, having had a chance to play Pebble Beach, I get it. And it is, I think Jack Nicklaus says it's the best walk in golf. And it is. There's something so unique about it, and it, not that it's a good walk spoiled. It definitely tests you as it relates to some of the shots, but that's why you enjoy golf. To as a fan, to see Rory do something special at a signature event at a famous golf course, that's a big deal. And I think Medinah offers the same opportunity. And there's some other courses across the tour. There's great courses across the tour ecosystem, but there's always those special ones that have 100 years of history or 150 years of history. You mentioned earlier, Andrea, I'm also stepping in and parachuting in to do the Philadelphia event, the Truist Championship. And that's going to be hosted at the Philadelphia Cricket Club, and it's at the Wissahickon. Famed architect Tillinghast designed that, and the architecture is so phenomenal. It is old school. We traditionally don't play courses like that on the PGA Tour. So the energy from the tour players of getting to play a unique course, and that property's been around for over 100 years, and not just Tillinghast, but all of these noted Pennsylvania or Philly designers were members there, and they all hung out together. So you've got this historic element to it. So for me, I appreciate the history behind it. I appreciate the chance when I was at Daytona, getting to lead the charge that the company entrusted me to spend $400 million to, in essence, walk in the footsteps of Big Bill and recreate the Daytona International Speedway. You know, it'd been around for 50 plus years. It was time to make sure it was ready for its next 50 years. And so it's a moment in time you get to appreciate the history of something, how special it was, but now you get to help prolong, protect, preserve, perpetuate, those words I used before, that brand, what it does for its community, what it does for its fan, continues true to its path. And that's the fun part of being sports, of being a part of handing that legacy onto the next one. I always made the joke, I'm a caretaker. I get to be part of a special property. I'm taking care of it for a while, and I'm going to hand it to the next person and hope you take care of it too and get it ready for the next one. And so who knows, at some point, if my son, as he matures and grows up and goes to the Indy 500 or Daytona 500 or a President's Cup, that his dad was part of being a caretaker and just making sure it gets handed off to the next person and make sure that we respect it. Right? It's something special. It took a long time to build it up. We respect it. We give it all we've got, and then we hand it off to the next person. And that's why I say I'm very lucky. Now, there are moments when there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of stuff going on. I had some incidents at some of the racetracks where you have cars going fences, other things like that. So I'm not saying it isn't stressful, but at the end of the day, you get to be part of a sport. And sports are kind of, there's something unique about them that give us that thing. We get to walk in someone else's footsteps and think about what it'd be like to be them and to be a Tiger Woods and all those records, or you know, if you're an older school guy, to appreciate what Arnold Palmer did for the sport. You know, there's some things that he did in terms of, there's a great line about Arnold Palmer, and that Amy, his daughter, who I worked for down in Orlando, gave me, and I thought it was the best line I'd ever heard. And, you know, Arnold Palmer, hardworking kid, Western Pennsylvania, you know, grew up on a golf course. His dad was the superintendent. And Amy always had this line. She said, you know, my dad may have had 4 green jackets, but he never lost his blue collar. And I was like, I don't know what else to say. How good is that, right? And that, to me, are the things that we appreciate about sport. That gets us to be the fan, to attend, to want to work in it, which is a lot of travel and weekends. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's all worth it.
I'm just thinking, I know, I wish we had so much longer and we could talk all day. But before we wrap up, I know the companies that are listening to this and our listeners, how could they get in touch if they're interested in getting a hospitality booth or tickets? When is that all going to be available?
And thank you. Obviously, there's a commercial element to it
Ah,
that we all
absolutely.
enjoy. Golf is, I think, hands down the best place to entertain. And it can be an all-day affair. Your customer can go walk around and check out what they want, attend the venue. Again, it's not that you have to sit in your seat for 2 hours and have to watch everything. But for us, the website, presidentscup.com, we have all of the venues listed from 50-person, 35-person. The premium that we're doing inside the Medinah clubhouse, called the 1924 Club, for those that have not been inside the clubhouse, it is the most unique clubhouse I've ever seen. We're going to take the entire building and turn that into an individual premium called the 1924 Club. So if somebody wants to buy 1 or 2 or 4, you will need to be in the clubhouse. And we'll create an observation viewing deck on the 15th green to go with it. It's hands down going to be one of the best experiences we've created. So from individual purchases to entertaining 35 people, 50 people, we'll release a table product coming up in the spring, which is tables of 12. So we typically have an option for everyone. I would recommend, if you go on this website and don't see what you want, please register your email so that you get the first email of when the new products are coming. Again, we'll release more products in the spring and in the fall as we get ready for the event next year. We typically have something for everyone. We're working with our partners like a Chicago District Golf Association, communicating to that group. I've already met with the PGA section here. Again, had a chance to play, I'm not going to say the course correctly, but there was the PGA, but there Oswego.
Oh, Onwensia. Nick Papadakis.
Now, it rained a little bit, but what
beautiful
a proper.
Yeah,
I'm a fan.
Superintendent does a
But
great
again,
job up there.
all these connections you make in market. I'm not running for politics, but I feel like it sometimes. Meeting all these organizations, but there's so much support, and everybody wants to be a part of it. And for me, that tells me we're in the right place. Everybody's on board. Everybody realizes we can make an impact, but we can all, at the end of the day, say that we put on the biggest event in the President's Cup history, and every community, everyone in this market can actually be part of that claim.
Yeah, and I know we're working with your team, Chris and Scott, and for those listeners that may be interested in sponsoring or getting involved, you could also contact SchaumburgBusiness.com, and we'll get you in connection with your local contacts here.
Absolutely.
They've been phenomenal.
It's just, how do
They
you
got
not,
us together.
How do you not want to be part of a special event like that? And look, I'm a fan of this because I am this customer. So, as my son is getting ready to graduate, I would do these special trips with him. And we would do these one-off unique events. And I would find that sporting event and go, all right, you and I are doing this trip. And I did a trip up here. And I did, of course, Wrigley and Notre Dame and some tourist stuff. I did a trip to Baltimore and caught the Yankees in Baltimore, went to Gettysburg, and then we went to a Navy football game. So those are the memories that you create, and I think, again, Medinah, President's Cup, this market, you can create a trip that you'll remember for a really long time.
Yeah, and this has been such an incredible conversation, Joie, and thank you so much for sharing your insight, your passion, your knowledge, your everything.
I'm not excited
on being
at
here.
all. I'm kind of boring.
I don't know. I'm ready
just
for the
kinda,
cup to be here next week.
You want to go? Let's get our sticks.
You know what?
Is there
We
a
have some
course open
simulators
right
at
now?
Schaumburg. We
It may be a little
Yeah.
cool
Let's do
outside, but I'm ready.
I think I'm
ready.
ready
Yeah.
too. Let's get
it.
around
We
it
can still
today.
golf.
So,
You know?
yes, I am.
Tony will
We have
open
some
up the
simulators.
course.
We can do it now.
Yeah. So I also want to let our listeners know we cannot wait to welcome you back. I know Joie is going to be our featured speaker at at Good Morning Schaumburg. We're taking a field trip to Medinah in September, and it's going to be on September 9th at 8 a.m. So you could hear the latest. I'm sure there's going to be a lot
And
of
that'll
new
be in the
stuff.
ballroom at
Right.
the Medinah Country
Right.
Club. So you'll actually get to see what the venue looks like in terms of when we entertain there, which, again, it's the most unique clubhouse in golf, and I can't wait for that. I think it's going to be a really fun event. And I've got some videos. I'll have some more fun sizzle that we'll share. I might even pull a fun picture out from my stuntman days and embarrass myself
You
accordingly.
have to.
Awesome.
Have to. That's a
We'll,
must.
we'll make that a special breakfast.
Yeah, the only problem is we could only host 240
That's
people,
it?
so that's
Wow,
it.
they
So
better-
everybody
better-
better register.
The Schaumburg Park District. We have a
I
table
know,
already. We're on.
Tony,
We're in. You're in.
He got his table like the day that we were
love it.
able to
That's
book
great.
Medinah for this. So thank you, and thank you again for everything, Mayor Daley, Tony. I obviously could
Oh,
not have
yeah,
done
I
this
mean-
without you. So thanks for coming
Well,
with the great questions.
Yeah, thank you for having me. So I'm going to be there Saturday night. I have a dinner function to go at Medinah, so now I'm going to go there and I'm going to just be there looking out the windows and thinking about this event. And I'm really just, I said, excited.
I might have to
so.
send you the map, and so you can actually see where the venue is and pick it all out. But yeah, I think we should do this again. This was fun.
Let's do it.
Maybe we'll do the next version. We'll just tell some funny stories about golf and racing, and we'll kind of take it a good spot.
And Joey, I do want to let you know I have one longest drive and so I could actually drive the ball 200, 220
Oh,
straight.
I'm impressed. So I will leave you
Just
with
one time.
this.
Give me advice.
I'm a big fan of sports and quotes and the people that you meet, and I'm all about when we know it's in front of us, we gotta hustle, right? We don't want to finish in second place. We want to win. So Mario Andretti, famous race car driver, great family lineage. He's the only man to have won a Formula One World Championship, a Daytona 500, and an Indy 500. That will never happen again. Well, he said, if things seem like they're under control, you're just not going fast enough.
Well said.
Hey, I
for
like
me,
that.
It's true.
Foot down,
Yep.
Yeah.
gas
Let's do
pedal
it.
all the
Pedal to the
way.
metal.
We're going to go fast. We're going to put it on the edge, and that's what it's going to take to make sure that nobody passes us. And so I think that's a really good quote for all of us as we're in business.
Yeah.
We've got to perform. We want to drive, whether it's business, tourism, economic impact. We just got to go fast, and we got to push it all the way.
We're going to do it. And for all the listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to Schaumburg Speaks. Make sure to subscribe and listen to more interesting stories like this one. So thank you. Thank you all for
Thanks
being
again,
here.
Joe. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.